All right, everyone, welcome. So happy to be with you on Headspace Live. We go online live every Wednesday at noon Central, with a few exceptions every once in a while, but that's basically the rhythm. Headspace Live is basically a live, unfiltered version, completely recorded live, and we just riff off things. Sometimes I have guests, sometimes I don't have guests. Today I won't. So today we're going to talk about being an outsider in America, cancel culture, why remixing in conversation and ideas is really important. I'm going to sort of unpack a little bit more about this in a minute, but leave us your questions in the comment section. We try to answer them when we can, and then we'll see what happens here. Here we go. Okay, so today I'm wearing this awesome Prince t-shirt given to me by my buddy James Foster. Shout out to James Foster for an amazing t-shirt that he brought directly from Paisley Park in Minneapolis. So I wore it to commemorate just how excited I am about this t-shirt. I'm a huge Prince fan. Anyway, so today, why am I doing this solo? So I mostly want to invite people and guests and experts to talk about really the one focal point that I focus on, which is human flourishing. How do we get better? How do we live lives of purpose, of flourishing, of amazing impact in the world? So everything I do solo with guests is geared towards to help you flourish in life as a human being. Okay, so I just want to make sure that we're repeating that over and over again, because that's really my passion. My desire is to help you flourish, succeed, prosper, live a peaceful life, all of those things. So originally we wanted to do Headspace Live mostly with guests, but then what I found out is that, look, you know what, I have so many things going on all at the same time that I don't necessarily have the bandwidth and even sort of the windows to do noon Wednesday and fill every single spot with amazing guests, because I just have this incredible network of friends who can bring a lot to your life, and I want to invite them, but sometimes they're not available. So what I decided to do is that when I have somebody, I'm going to invite them. We're going to unpack their expertise. They're going to give us advice. They're going to give us their insights. They're going to share stories, share their lives. When I don't have a guest, what I'll do is I'll pick a topic that I'm passionate about and just riff off of it, and just be complete stream of consciousness, nothing really pre-prepared, maybe some talking points, things like that. And that's basically what I'm going to do moving forward. Let me know what you think of this in comments. Reach out to me on whatever platform and let me know what you think of this. So today, I want to start talking about a thing that I've been working on really a lot, and it's a new book. It's a book that I thought of, I've been sort of thinking about for a while, and it's rooted in my love for America as an immigrant, my perspective of America as an outsider, and my experience as an immigrant in America, and how that sometimes sort of helps Americans appreciate their own country. This is, election year, things are going to go crazy. And for a while now, my wife, Deb, who is usually the wise person in the family, she just says, hey, this is what you need to be doing. And she kept saying to me, hey, you have all these ideas, these perspectives about America. And I need you to share those, because they seem to resonate with people, to help people, to encourage people, to give people sort of insights that are helpful to them. And she's like, look, you got to write a book, got to write a book, got to write a book. And I had, as always, have two or three things going on, four things going on that, and I know that it takes a lot of effort, a lot of energy to write a book, and I just couldn't make it happen. So we basically compromised, and I decided to write a book that is a small book called the Little Book of Big Reasons to Love America. I'm writing it right now. You can actually see it chapter by chapter on my newsletter, and you can subscribe to it. You have the URL right there or right here, christianrayflores.com. It's a free newsletter you can subscribe to. You'll get a chapter every week until it publishes. There's all kinds of ways you can get a signed copy after it's done, and it's going to be beautiful. There's illustrations inside, and it's going to be, the format's going to be essentially 7 to 10 chapters of one topic each, one reason of loving America more and why, from my perspective. And there's going to be illustrations there, and we're going to publish it, I think, in the summer, sometimes in the summer, right? But my tempo is delivering one, like, first draft chapter a week. So I drop it in the newsletter, and then this on Headspace is going to be me riffing on some of the topics chapter by chapter by chapter. So that's basically the format. I hope this is clear to you. And actually, because I'm live, I'm going to turn on comments here to see if somebody just says something. So if you want to ask a question on your live, you can ask right now. So what are we going to talk about today? Today, I'm going to talk about being an outsider in America. And the reason why I think that's important is because this is a country of outsiders, right? So everybody is from somewhere else. And what I love about this place is that you can be from somewhere else and still belong. And I think it's very deeply human for us to want to belong somewhere. And when we're wired for that, you can belong and be from anywhere else and be accepted in America in a very different way that you can be from somewhere else and be in, like, let's say, Western Europe or Africa or Latin America. Most countries have this sort of a much clearer delineation of outsider, insider. Why is that particularly valuable? I think, let's say, starting with me. First is this. I've never fit anywhere. I've been an outsider everywhere I've lived, because I'm half Chilean, half Russian. I grew up in Russia, Chile, Germany, Africa, back to Russia, Ukraine, US. This is my fourth continent, right? So even my formative years were 3 different continents, 4 different countries. So because of that, I am weird. And I've always felt everywhere I've lived to be an outsider. So let's say in Eastern Europe, I look Latin, clearly. In Africa, they call me white. In Latin America, I don't sound local. There's certain things that they can see, although I look local there. In America, people, of course, see that there's a slight accent, and they ask me where I'm from fairly quickly. But I'm accepted because I think the culture of America was created around outsiders in general. So that's sort of the origin story of the country. And you can be an American first, and then a Latino or a Russian or a Greek or an African second. In, let's say, Western Europe, you are not necessarily French, even if you come from Africa. You're an African person who lives in France, or a Ukrainian person who lives in France. In America, the culture is so that you can be American and be fully accepted as an American. There's this great quote from George Washington that I love, and this is what he says: the bosom of America is open to receive not only the opulent, the respectable stranger, but the oppressed, the persecuted of all nations and religions, whom we shall welcome to a participation of all our rights and privileges. Now, of course, I understand that's all aspirational. There's all kinds of divisions and things like that. That's not the point. The point is the DNA, the design of the country is around outsiders, immigrants, and that creates an imprint. And by the way, I just wanted to sort of mention this right off the bat, if you're sort of now in your mind debating with me, right? Look, I'm writing this book not as a historical document, not as an exhaustive analysis. I'm writing a book as an immigrant who came into the United States, who has been inspired by American culture my whole life, as a matter of fact, and who is grateful and sees a lot of good here, even though there's so much trash, I guess, being talked about America, especially in election year. And my goal in these episodes, this riffing of these topics, is not to debate, not to sort of prove to somebody something that they don't want to believe, but to just to share and amplify your ability to see the good in this country. Does that make sense? So this is not, a political thing at all. This is about human flourishing. This is about how this country, this culture, this environment helps you flourish, achieve, serve, um, prosper, live a harmonious life. I really believe this is the best country in the world for me. That's why I'm writing it from my perspective, and that's why I'm sharing these thoughts from my perspective to you. And if it helps you, fantastic. Spread the word. Leave me some comments. This is why I'm doing this. I'm not doing this to sort of get into political fights or arguments or debates about stuff. Right? I'm just sharing insights. Okay. Having said that, um, being from somewhere else, I'm an immigrant. There's a term that I use that basically describes me and many other people. The term is a third culture kid. Third culture kid was, I think, developed as an idea or coined as an idea. I want to say by a journalist in India. She was British, and she was living in India. I have the name somewhere written down, but it was her kids were. She sort of looked at her kids, and they were British, and they lived in India, but they developed this third culture because they were not fully British and fully Indian, right? So you're from uh, somewhere else, but nowhere at the same time, and that's a third culture kid. So when you're a third culture kid because if somebody says, where are you from, you say, do you want the 1 minute answer or the 20-minute answer, right? And that's sort of my story of my life. I'm like, I have this puzzled look on my face going, okay, what do I say exactly here? um, you are not a citizen. You are not a citizen of the world if you're a third culture kid. You are sort of a citizen of everywhere and nowhere simultaneously. Now, the reason I want to sort of introduce this concept for you is that America is sort of a third culture country. And because it's a third culture country which is full of this mix of people and ideas from religions, all of that, ideologies even, uh, it's a very comfortable country for me because I don't think third culture kids fit well into sort of single culture countries. So if it's a multicultural country, we feel at home. And I feel very much at home here. I feel much more at home in the United States than I've ever felt anywhere else. I feel accepted. Everybody is from somewhere else. It sort of works for me. I want to describe to you uh, my dinner table growing up, right? The Flores family dinner table. We were in Africa. I grew up in Mozambique, my formative years. So imagine we're sitting at the dinner table, and my mom, who's Russian, she would say something in Russian. My dad who speaks all those languages, by the way, we all speak all those languages. My dad would answer to her directly in Spanish, and we all understood what he was talking about. And then my sister and I, because we're kids and we assimilate much quicker than grown-ups, we would sort of say something in Portuguese to each other or to mom and dad, and then everybody would understand everybody. And then if they wanted for us to not understand something they're saying, they would say something in French because they both speak French. And if we wanted to sort of say something in between us, we would say something in English because I think my dad's English was he had a little bit of English, but not much. And then my mom didn't speak it. So that was sort of the family dinner table. It was very eclectic, very, very strange. Why do I say that to you? Why is that an important thing and an insight about America? Because the power of America is based on these clashes of ideas and languages, right? Um, my my wife's great grandfather, my wife Deb, her great grandfather, his name was Ugo Perfetti, and he boarded a ship from Europe. He lived in Italy with his two older brothers. He was 18 at the time in 1910. And at this age, they left everything, their old country, their culture, everything, and they moved to the States through Ellis Island. And we actually found the records, the ship records of the names of what age they were, etc., where they were from. And they started a new life here. And Deb now is a third generation American on that side. And she's fully American, and still she comes from somewhere else, and she thinks of those cultures, those ideas that drove her great grandparents to the States. On the other side, she's very Northern European. Actually, on both sides, she's like 98% white. according to the DNA records, which sort of compensates for my weird mixture of races, and so we balance each other out. There's a motto that appears on American passports, our money, or all three seals of three branches of our government in America have this motto: a pluribus unum, out of many one. A pluribus unum. I'm butchering it. I'm sorry. I don't speak Latin. I'm reading it from my little note here, and basically, it means out of many one. This is the richness of America. Now, you might say, okay, we've heard it before. Yes, I know. Here's what I see. I see that richness is now being questioned through identity politics, through cancel culture, through this weird drive to create this sort of almost like a monochromatic picture of America, of ideas. And I just don't think it's healthy. I think it goes against the DNA of why America is special, and it bothers me. And I want to emphasize how valuable the diversity of thoughts and ideas are to someone who came in here from the outside. And in most places on earth, this kind of healthy, constructive outsider factor is not tolerated well. And in America, it is, and it's sort of becoming less and less, right? So there's a difference between being an outsider and being a constructive outsider. You come in not entitled, not taking, but giving and building, right? That's a good way of being an outsider. To be an outsider that is a taker, an entitled person, somebody who feels like a victim, most of the time, people like that don't flourish anywhere, quite frankly. And I feel more and more and more of those voices and that energy in the United States of America. And I want to say, as a grateful immigrant, I'm here to build, I'm here to give, I'm here to thank, I'm here to be a constructive outsider, although I don't belong. Like, there's certain circles of people where I just stand there and go, I don't even know what to talk to you about, because I'm an outsider, which is totally fine, right? You don't have to change to my mold. I came here. I need to see what's here. I need to learn from what I can learn, and then I can also be an outsider that is constructive. So bring something that's not here already. And that's sort of my heart. That's my desire to live in this country that I'm grateful for. That I'm grateful that my kids are breathing the air of freedom. Again, I'm not saying any of this from a perspective of politics or any particular party. I'm just saying it from a perspective of a grateful immigrant who's here to build, to give, and who wants to see this incredible, welcoming place to flourish, right? Flourishing. Ideologies, cultures are painful to reconcile. They really are, right? And in many places, I would say, maybe not most places, maybe I'll say actually most places, ideas that are painful to reconcile, they're suppressed by force, by manipulation, by oppression. And that is a mistake. In the United States of America, the baseline of culture is to not suppress that historically. That's what made America so creative, so entrepreneurial, so diverse, so accepting. Everybody's from somewhere else. It's a third culture country. And so when ideas come together, they first clash, right? They first clash. It's a push against one thing against the other. It just doesn't match, doesn't work. But then if you give it enough time, if you create a space, a peaceful space, they mix. And when they mix, they remix into something new. Of a completely new, it's a completely new thing, right? And that is incredibly powerful and valuable. So from that come great creativity, inventions, entrepreneurship, new companies, new ways of doing things, new technologies. From the clash, the back and forth, the mixing, and then a remix is created. Something new is created from two different things. Um, and I think that's a superpower of this country, of this culture. And I want that to not stop. And I feel like it's threatened by identity politics. Is us against them. There's only two camps. It's very binary. It's 0 or 1, and that's it. It's cancel culture is I am going to destroy you for having a different opinion than mine. The suppression of diverse thoughts and ideas without an ability, an environment where it's safe to debate and disagree is really, really unhealthy, and I don't want it gone in this country. And because I'm so grateful for it, I've seen the opposite, the contrast in Africa. I've seen it in Latin America. I've seen it in Russia. I've seen it in Ukraine. I've seen it all over the world, right? And we can't lose this because America is all about the remix, right? Like it's no surprise, I think, that jazz is an American art form. It's all about the remix. It's all about responding. It's all about improvising. It's all about flexibility and fluidity. Jazz is a beautiful art form, and it's a quintessentially American art form. Hip hop is a quintessentially American art form, and it's all about remixing. I mean, the mix of two LPs was invented as the core, as the foundation of hip hop, and everything was about riffing of somebody else's chord or idea or track or guitar solo, things like that, and something new, completely new, original kids created. And that is so American, and it's so beautiful, and it's so important for us to maintain. And for us to sort of keep that kind of culture, we need to be able to recognize what threatens this, right? And what threatens this is this lack of tolerance for other people's ideas, for disagreements. This I will shut you down. I will question everything about you if you're not in this camp, whatever the camp is. All of that is really, really terrible. And part of the reason I'm writing the book is sort of to share those ideas with you, as to not fall for it and to not buy into this sort of binary, primitive, fear-based kind of partisan debate. It's not really a debate. It's people talking past each other, right? As a matter of fact, in life and my focal point and headspace in general is about human flourishing. So it's not really about necessarily just the country or politics or a party or anything else or an industry. It's about you. It's about you. It's about me. How do we flourish? How do we grow? How do we have an impact in this world? How do we fulfill our destiny? And the best way to fulfill your destiny, honestly, in any group of people, is to be a constructive outsider. And the constructive outsider in any group of people, any family, any church organization, any company, is to come in and say, look, I love this organization and I want to build it up. And I have some different thoughts and ideas that I want to offer, but I also want to learn and adapt to what you have built here. I'm curious. I'm fascinated by you. And I'm not you. And maybe we'll never be able to talk as if we grew up in the same state, a third generation. But I want to learn about what it felt like to be, a Texan, a third generation Texan, for example. I want to learn, and I want to share with you what it means to be a mutt, right? A third culture kid who grew up everywhere. And maybe what I have can enrich your life, and I know for a fact that what you have will enrich mine. And not just in life between human beings, but in ideas about business, about creativity, about music. People that are constructive outsiders, they build things, they create new things. And I think America is quintessentially third culture that way. It's quintessentially attracted and created a nurturing environment around these constructive outsiders who just came in and they had the freedom to think differently, right? And to create something that transformed the human experience in one way or another. It could be music, it could be film, it could be technology, it could be all kinds of other things. So I hope this helps. I hope this is enriching to you. The core sort of idea of this episode is me riffing of this idea that America is a welcoming place for outsiders. Everybody's an outsider, and it's a good thing. And there's a healthy way to be an outsider without sort of destroying what's already there. And an immigrant that comes in, not entitled, not enraged, but grateful and ready to build, ready to contribute, and also ready to learn and fascinated and curious is sort of an amazing thing for us, right? So we should attract more people like that, and we should be like that as well here in the States. And as we sort of spend this year trying to figure out a way for the next 4 years of where the country is going to go, I just pray that we we step away from partisan politics, honestly, and just start thinking about ideas and how they can enrich the human experience rather than thinking about your side versus my side, one versus zero, black versus white, when it comes to these binary constructs that are, I think, artificial, primitive, and built around dividing people and not building something new. So this is my hope for you. I hope this is encouraging to you. Leave us any comments here. Spread the word. Help us grow the channel. And also let me know, what do you think about the book, the little book of big reasons to love America. You can actually see it chapter by chapter on christianrayflores.com. And you can subscribe to the newsletter and give me some comments, input, because even this book, the way I'm sort of treating it is very fluid as a remix. I'm writing it, but I'm doing these episodes that are basically, hey, what do you think? What are your ideas? I'd love to include your thoughts into my process of thinking about this book and how I communicate this. So thank you again for tuning in. This has been really, really great, and I'll see you next time.